Hello and welcome to Dungeoneered, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
Let's do this. All right, Josh. Let us do our best to hear my bird scream and then also to not sound frustrated.
Yeah, let's try.
Because
Okay, I'm so frustrated.
This is probably
right
number,
now,
85?
Yeah, it feels like 85th attempt. We've been trying for almost 3 hours now to get this recorded, and there's just been audio issue after audio issue after audio issue. And I can't say the word issue anymore for some reason.
I think we've used it so much at this point that it's just here. It's just how we're going to have to be.
Yeah, so we are hearing each other. Not great, but we're recording on both our ends, and we're going to splice it together, so it should sound fine for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a robot, but, it's better than nothing.
Yes. So, this week, if we can get this recorded...
Hey, I actually know the subject now.
You do, because we've already done my whole side, and then it started getting crappy. So we're going to try the retake.
Yeah.
Okay, so last week, we talked about and made this corrupted paladin. And he was corrupted by something that I kind of wanted to flesh out this week. So this week, we're going to talk about hags. Now, I remembered a little too late, Aaron, that you wanted to talk about a happy topic this week. So we're getting hags.
Okay, and we also decided to triple the topic in hours.
What?
Thanks to audio issues.
Oh, yes. We did decide that we were going to record for a lot more hours than we normally do. Okay, into my topic. The easiest way to understand D&D hags is to simply see them as classic witches from mythology. Like a classic example of one of these witches is the trio from Shakespeare's Macbeth. You know, the whole double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. The classic Shakespearean witch.
Yeah, and what about the Halloween movie? That's what I think of. Can't remember what it's called though, but it's famous.
That's not helpful.
Help though.
There's no way I can find it by the Halloween movie.
Bewitched.
You guys know.
Bewitched. Right? Bewitched.
The only Bewitched I know is a TV series from
Dang it, no,
the 80s, which was great.
Definitely not Bewitched.
Because what the story was, it was Darren was the husband, and he was married to, oh gosh, I'm forgetting her name now. But she was a witch secretly, and so he finds out after marrying her and then has to... I don't know why we're going into this now, but...
The synopsis just says Darren marries a very pretty woman.
Did you look up Bewitched the show?
Yep. It's not at all what I was thinking.
No, but one of the great
Hocus
things is
Pocus.
she can wiggle her nose in a way that, like, I have not found any other human that could. And so that's how she casts spells, is she kind of wrinkles her nose like that, and it's so hard to copy.
She's definitely not a hag.
No, she's definitely not a hag.
No, I was thinking of Hocus Pocus. That's what I'm thinking of.
I don't know what Hocus Pocus is.
What? You don't?
No, explain Hocus Pocus. I don't know what this is.
It's about 3 witches that are, like, creepy, and it's a Halloween movie. I mean, creepy in parentheses.
I was going to say, is it like a horror movie or something?
No, it's more, it's more of like a comedy horror movie. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay, this looks vaguely familiar, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
This is what I think of when I think of hags, but these people are less, like, creepy.
Yeah, they're not,
like,
they're not
green
ugly,
skin
though.
And greasy hair and seaweed for...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, back to the topic, because we got way off of it. There is also a famous historical mythological creature called the Baba Yaga, a supernatural being sometimes depicted as a trio of sisters, like the Macbeth witches, who appears as a deformed, ferocious-looking old woman Now, Baba
Okay.
Yaga.
Really
Yeah.
quick. When I think of Baba Yaga, why do I think of like a bear? Like a
I don't know.
why? The Baba
I
Yaga
don't
sounds
know.
like some sort of like bear or something, you know?
I
Like
mean,
some sort of
it's definitely a unique name. Yeah. I mean, but there's also like Krampus and stuff, which doesn't really sound
well,
like what
yeah.
it is.
No.
Now, so Baba Yaga, one of the major parts of Baba Yaga's story is their hut, and it walks on chicken legs, which most hags in D&D don't have. But it's in homebrewing. You can create it any way you want.
It's like Howl's Moving Castle,
Yeah,
but chicken legs.
yeah. Actually, I mean, I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, you like D&D. For those of us who like D&D, there is the newest book, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Tasha was actually raised by the in-fiction Baba Yaga, which is just a fun thing to know.
Oh, that's kind of
Now,
cool.
yeah, it is. Now, hags are witches with evil intent and a dark, foreboding origin. Unlike other demonic creatures, though, hags are actually fey creatures. They're not fiends. The Forgotten Realms wiki has a great line kind of explaining hags, and it says, they are equal parts hideous and heinous. Hags embodied what it meant to be ugly inside and out, taking on the forms of unsightly old women. They were the antithesis of the Feywild natives, like the Eladrin, for they were warped reflections of civilized beings that epitomized nature at its most repugnant.
Wow. That sounds so much worse than what I first heard when you read that.
Because it was cutting in and out when I first read it.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
it's beautifully written with beautiful words to really explain this gross people.
I would prefer if it was beautifully written with beautiful hieroglyphics, though, you know?
Now, hags are like a lot of monsters in D&D. They have a wide variety of like appearances and what they can really look like, granting DMs freedom to make them however they want to look. Though there are general guidelines to follow for making one. You don't have to follow these as I said, but these are typical hags. They are typically look like twisted crones with unsightly appearance and blotchy skin, marred by warts and moles. Their long, bony fingers are capped with sharp, crooked nails, as tough as steel and sharp like blades. Their hair is frayed and rugged. Their eyes are sly and portray evil intent. Now, hags have many different types, and each of those have different powers, but most of them can appear as a normal old woman if they wished, or even some can turn themselves into beautiful young women. Most of them are reluctant to do this because they really love how they look.
Are they like able to like shapeshift at will?
Yeah, most of them can. Yeah. Now, but the thing is, most of them would love their natural appearance because they love how purposefully gross it is. They love disgusting people. Once again, the article on hags in the Forgotten Realms wiki is just so beautifully written that I had to keep their part about the personality of hags in as well. So evil was at the core of what defined hags, an inexorable part of their identity. They were representatives of malice and malignancy, paragons of corruption, who took unbridled joy in creating misery and misfortune for the virtuous and content.
Wow.
Yeah. To simply call them evil was itself an understatement. Petty, avaricious, conniving, merciless, abhorrent, and oppressive simply scratch the descriptive surface. Their reversed sense of value extended to aesthetics as well, for hags were known to relish their moral and physical ugliness, as well as the horror that they evoked, and be disgusted by the beautiful, disfiguring those who were attractive. Despite embodying that which was horrible and brutal in nature, they still disrupted the natural order, for hags were miserable creatures of scorn and hate that did evil purely for evil's sake. Now, these hags are like Yugolos, which we talked about recently, in their intelligence and style, as their plans are so unscrutable that even immortals have a hard time understanding their actions. And hags also, like Yugolos, have a philosophy of superiority, believing themselves to be above everyone else. Despite this, they love to make deals with those below them. Now, unlike a lot of folklore, witches, hags don't really do it out of curiosity or to kind of be a part of a greater story. When a hag goes to make a deal, they create these deals with rough consequences so that they can make the person they are making the deal with an active participant in their own corruption.
Jeez.
They find great they find great joy in dragging people of good conscience and esteem down. The act of making others miserable is splendid to them. Now, hags are traditionally thought of to reside in covens. But interestingly enough, as I dived into the lore, it turns out they hate each other. They do not want to be in covens, like naturally. Hags only do that, only go into covens when something external requires it. Maybe it's for their safety, or they want to complete a really powerful ritual, or whatever it is, there has to be something that forces them into it. Now, hag covens must, almost across the board, consist of 3 members. Because with any more, and there's too many issues to deal with, any less, and the 2 hags will always dispute and fight and never actually make or do anything. The odd numbers allow them to resolve any issues between the 2 others, and they are able to work together.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now, hags can do a lot of magical things, can create a lot of magical items and potions and spells and brews and whatnot. But my favorite thing that they can make is called a hag's eye. To create a hag's eye, you require a whole coven and a hag victim that has, through their dealings, given up its eye. Combining the eye with gemstones of many different price, and through a powerful ritual which takes a long time.
Wait, you said eyes, right?
No, just eye, just one.
So, like, rip an eye out from somebody's socket?
Yeah, so it has to be through the deal. So they make a deal and they say, you give up your eye for whatever they're asking.
What the heck?
And so normally, it's taken out in such a way that they still live. Because the hag, part of their dealing and the stuff they want to do, part of the joy they get from it is seeing the corrupted end result. So they wouldn't want to kill the person.
Yeah.
They want to see
just
how they...
Just scoop it out with a spoon. You know? Can't be that bad.
I think it was an episode of Alias where they had to scoop it out with a spork.
Oh, gosh.
It was rough.
Ow.
Now, they complete this long ritual together, and at the end of it, the life essence of all of the hags become tied to the eye, allowing all members to see what the eye can see, as long as it is on the same plane of existence as them. With true sight, beings can tell that this is a disembodied eye, but to anyone else, it just appears to be a regular stone. And this stone is often placed in brooches, medallions, or other sorts of jewelry. And this jewelry, with this hag eye, is given out to unsuspecting victims, allowing them to spy on whoever they give it to constantly. Now, that is all I have on hags for this week. And so now I think it is time that we dive into creating the creatures that corrupted this paladin.
Before we even do that, though, one of my players in my campaign made a deal with a hag. as like a patron for like being a warlock.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super interesting because she gave her like a stone on a necklace, and I didn't even know that like Hags did that, but so they could spy, and that like could easily be something that I throw into my campaign now.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was a thing, and she loves that little witch stone.
That's actually really cool because it's a perfect way of leading it in there, and the whole time it could have been that.
That's so weird.
But yeah, that's what hags like to do. This hag's eye. I forget where I first heard about it. I think it was from a YouTube video explaining about hags, and I just thought it was really interesting and really cool.
No, it's super cool. That's so awesome. They can like spy and watch them wherever they go.
Yeah, and it just looks like a basic medallion. So what happens is it gets like passed along through generations, or it gets sold in a pawn shop of some sort, then someone else takes it, and then they all of a sudden they have this eye in places they never expected to. And
that'd be a really fun backstory thing for like a character who just like says like, "Oh, I have a special medallion that I got when I was, handed down to me."
Mm-hmm.
Just like it was my dad's or something, and then as a DM, you're just like, "Yep, it definitely was," and now it's a hag eye.
Yeah, and I think because of hags and how intelligent they are, and how, like, as I said, immortals are confused by what they do. Meaning that like gods and deities still can't like figure them out. So I think one of the things that would actually happen, which would be really cool, would be that even though the hags might have done this years ago now, they planned it out. And so maybe they even knew that that player was going to get it. And maybe that was the intention all along. Maybe they saw this adventurer that was going to become a hero. And so they made sure it got in their lineage.
I mean, you could also do like if somebody has like a family sword with like a gem in the pommel, do something like that too.
That too,
Be creative. He could be all sorts of creative. That'd be really fun. And then they have this hag that's been watching them for a very long time.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. That's fun. I'm gonna have to steal that.
Well,
thank you, self. I'll steal that from my own pocket and put it in my other one.
Well,
all right, so let's create this hag group of hag coven. I don't know what you want to call it.
Well, so I think we should. So we're gonna create the creatures that corrupted this paladin, and I think to kind of get away from hag, so it doesn't just feel like a reskin. Well, let's start by not calling it a coven, and I think instead of having 3, like the classic 3 witches, we just have 2.
I mean, I like the idea of getting away from 3 at a time and doing like a just like a duo, like you said, or like even just one. I like that too. But
yeah, one could work too. But I kind of like the feeling of like, I always like the kind of bickeringness that comes from like a hag coven, because that's how they're supposed to be played out, is that there is just constant infighting. That's why there needs to be 3, because there needs to be one that can kind of moderate. And so
I agree.
And so maybe in this one it's 2, and then maybe they have like an imp or some sort of like combined familiar that is both of their familiar that kind of is this mediator.
I love the idea of 2 hags and they can't ever like decide on something, and so they have like a familiar, like something crappy that like they both like you wouldn't normally value its opinion.
But it's the only way to get them to decide anything.
Yeah. I love that so much.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Okay, so 2 hags, so that means we have to make 2.
Well, so that's the thing. I think we should make our own creature. I don't think it should be hags.
Oh, like just like make a new creature but skin it as like looking like a hag?
No, it just acts like a hag. So it would be kind of offering deals, and it would be this kind of creature that did corrupt the paladin, but it wasn't a hag exactly. Or we could just make 2 hags, which would work just fine.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. I like making it a creature that isn't a hag but like operates like one. But I think we should do I think we should do 2 hags. Like we should make it 2 hags, but we should like do like a little bit more in depth than just two hags. So like some sort of like backstory of these creatures, why they're doing this deal with this paladin, what's their end goal, that kind of stuff. Instead of just, two enemies that your party's going to fight in the end. Because that always makes a more interesting villain.
So I'm thinking they know of the party. And they are doing all this work and corrupting this paladin because they're hoping he can defeat them. But we find out, as we kind of made in the last episode, it doesn't work. And so maybe the end goal of the party is against these people. They don't like where it's going.
So how do the hags know about the party? I love this idea of them having one of these eyes somehow, but that would require you to know about your players.
Yeah. You'd have to have it worked in somehow that the players have this.
I'm sure you could convince somebody to have some sort of ceremonial stone or anything like that. I'm sure you could.
Yeah. I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard. You could also
even just like convincing them to have a weapon, a family weapon, like anything like that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Just say here. You can
even
have
one
this.
of my characters, one of my wizards. I don't remember which one, but he had a gem in the. It might have been Armel. He had a gem on the cover of his book, and like that was one of his main things. So that could easily be that way, be a witch eye. So anything like that, you could squeeze it in there somehow.
Now I am thinking that the third creature that is with these hags is a Nothic, because Nothics are also kind of powerful and omnipotent. Yeah,
but we already had a Nothic in the tavern,
That's true.
We got to do something else. We got to do something creative. We got to do something like, what would be with a bunch of hags? What?
Yeah. So I think we're throwing out imp because imp is too.
Imp is too
makes
cliche.
Too much sense. Yeah,
totally.
It makes too much sense. Okay, I got
how
it.
creepy do we want to go?
I got it. It is a decapitated head of it was just a regular adventurer who has just been stuck with these hags for so long that it's now just kind of a part of the group. And it wasn't even supposed to be awakened, but it just kind of happened. Like during some of their experiments, something went wrong, and maybe it's literally just like hanging in the back.
Okay.
And maybe when the players come in, it just looks like a hanging head in the back, and then eventually it's like, hey, and it speaks up.
No. Okay, I like this. I like where you're going with this a lot. I'm picturing I like the head. I like that a lot. I'm picturing it in a jar, you know how you ferment, you preserve brains and stuff in a jar.
Yeah.
But they've preserved a head in a jar, and what I'm thinking is the reason they even have it is for this because there's only two and they can't decide, so they killed someone. They killed someone they thought was wise for a human or whatever. And so they killed him, took his head off, and put it in a jar to help them decide against their bickering.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they have this head in a gross jar that sits on their desk or sits, somewhere in their house at all times. And even when you're doing a fun, the party is exploring and they find this hag hut or whatever, and they're looking through the windows and stuff, you could even see a head sitting on the table or something. I love it so much.
And maybe somebody with high enough perception, when they move around, do they see you just kind of offhandedly mention, oh, the face seems to be aimed in your direction.
Yeah, or what I would do is I would if the party is stealthy enough or something, but I would be you can see the head just every once in a while shift or move, but it could just be that it's floating
like a blink or something. Yeah.
You just notice that the head just happens to slightly rotate and move every once in a while. Just
it's cool. It seems almost like it floats up and down. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Or maybe there's some sort of wisp that comes off it into the water, some sort of magical energy of some sort.
If they had detect magic on, they would see that it's magical for sure. It would probably be a necromancy energy or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like that. So we have two hags, and because there's two, they've killed a human that they thought was wise in order to decide many of their issues that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that they know about the party and have like foreseen that the party is going to try and stop whatever evil they're planning with this paladin.
Which I think,
not with this paladin, but just in general. So they corrupt this paladin to try and see if they can stop.
yeah. So I think the because we decided the big bad is going to be the corruption.
Right.
So I think they see a possible future where the party defeats this corruption.
Right. Absolutely. And so they're trying to stop it.
Yes. And so they also see that if the corruption takes over the world, they're going to be in a position of higher power. And so they want that world to come to be.
Okay, so then if we have this corruption as like a living entity, then the hags obviously have made some sort of deal with it, I'm assuming, correct?
I kind of want them to be like fully apart. Like they are like hags in D&D where they kind of work in the background. They're not up front about it. And so maybe later on in the campaign they will actually approach this corruption, but as of right now they are kind of playing a background game.
So why do they want the corruption to succeed? Just for like ultimate evil and destruction?
So they see that they will be raised up to a place of higher power where they will have the ability to bring great misery upon the good. And so they really want that, but they have yet to approach the... And maybe it's just a dispute. Maybe that's one of the disputes they have not been able to decide, because maybe the head is also like, I don't know when the right time to approach this corruption would be. And so the one wants to go now, the other one wants to go later. And the head is also like, I have no idea.
Okay. I have an idea. What if the head, maybe one or two, maybe one of them wants to like harness this corruption and be able to use it and control it. Because that would kind of feed into like the hag's ego of like, we're the best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so one of them wants to like control and use this corruption, while the other, I mean, what would the other one want to do? Why would they be at odds? Does the other one want to make a deal and like...
I think the other one fears its power and thinks they
like the
might
other one,
not...
like is afraid of it, and so...
Yes, not fully, like it probably won't ever say I'm afraid of it, because I think, because as they kind of have this fighting mentality between the two of them, it wouldn't want to show that weakness. So it wouldn't want to say, absolutely, I'm afraid of this person.
Yeah, just with that voice too. I'm a real hag.
I'm a real hag. No.
And every time it lies, its nose grows. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm a real hag. What do you say?
Been a doll this whole time.
You even have Mickey Mouse in there too, you know?
Oh, gosh. He's a really weird hag team.
I mean, I like the idea of one being afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like, not admitting it. But at the same time, I don't, you know? I like my hags to be, like, cocky.
So then what do you think the other one's goal is? Why do you think it does not want to approach the corruption?
Yeah, I mean, the only logical explanation would be that it's, like, afraid, or that maybe it's foreseen a future of, like, it killing them, or I don't know. What other explanation would there be besides being, like, afraid or like, wanting power? But I don't see hags, like, making a deal for power. They already have so much.
I don't...
Okay, what if one... I mean, I could see this. So one wants to use the power and, like, harness the corruption, while the other one just wants to watch it destroy things? Like, play more passively?
Okay, I see the point of that, because they would definitely find joy in that, but I don't know if that's good enough.
One wants to play it more of a passive game, maybe lead people into the corruption and watch them, you know, like, bring misery and demise that way.
More the other one wants to lead things into it. Oh, okay. Yeah. I think one wants to. Okay. So the one that wants to, like, control it wants to do it now. The other one wants to feed it a bunch of things, then control it. And so
I like that.
And so so they both are like, we have to control this thing. This thing is below us. But one of them fears that if it feed it too much, it's going to be too powerful for them to control. And the other one is too arrogant, which is one of the major flaws of hags, is that they believe themselves above everything to like a super arrogant position where they would be like, no, it will never be strong enough to defeat me type thing.
Yeah, let's feed it, make it stronger, and then harness it for like maximum potential. Whereas the other one is, let's use it now just for being able to use it.
Yes.
Why wait?
Yes.
Type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I like
the head can't like decide. Like the head wouldn't be able to decide.
Yes, I think the head is nervous about both plans, and so he's kind of doing delay tactics.
Here's the question though.
Here's the answer though.
Is the head like still itself? Like is it still?
Yes, I think it is itself, but it's been with them for like 100 years or more, and so it's kind of just
to like. I love the idea of it like actively picking the lesser of two evils to try and at least like mitigate what these hags are doing.
Yeah, so that's what I think it is doing, and I think it also is kind of resigned to its position. So it's not going to try to escape because it understands it's a head in a jar. It's not going to have a lot out there when it leaves. Also, it's been so long, anyone it cares about is definitely dead.
I also like this idea.
It mitigates, and with this situation, I think it fears, one, that telling them to do it now would work, and they would be able to control it, and he doesn't want that, and so he's hoping that if they make it strong enough, it will defeat them, or at least stop them from controlling it.
Yes, no, totally. I think this head should have like some sort of, the hags have like convinced him that if he makes these decisions and helps them with their like bickering or whatever, which, you know, I don't know if I like that word using it that way, but like helps them with their dilemmas that they have and like infighting, they'll release his soul eventually. Whereas if he doesn't, they keep it for forever. And so he is doing the best that he can, but he wants his soul to be released so he can rest. So he's choosing the lesser of two evils between the two hags, or what he perceives as such, in order for them to eventually release him and let him go, because otherwise he will forever be haunted and left in this cage, you know?
Yes.
So they're using that actively, but he's also trying to, like, escape. And so that'd be also kind of fun for the party to, like, investigate. Like, they find this head in a jar, but, like, he's actually not, like, terrible. You know? Like, he's...
Mm-hmm.
They could like actively talk to him, you know, after they killed the hags or whatever. You know, like,
I think he is partially evil though. I mean, not like fully, but I think it's one of those things where he's been with them, the hags, so long that they have tainted him.
No, I think what I would like would be like he's partially, not necessarily going insane, but he's partially losing his, morality, I guess, and the party can feel sorry for him because they can see where like he was once a good person, but now he's
maybe they find his journal,
been corrupted over time.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, it's a morality that has been weakened.
Yeah, and now he slowly like is, which then it would also like make the infighting worse because the hags would probably know about this, and the hag that wants to do it now is worried that if the head gets too corrupted, it's going to side with the other hag that wants to inflict maximum. But the other hag who wants to wait thinks, well, if the head gets too corrupt, it's just going to go now. And so they both don't think the head is capable of making this decision either.
Yeah, they're both starting to doubt the head.
Yeah, because one thinks that if the head gets so corrupt, it's going to want the maximum power, and the other one thinks it's going to want to just go. So they're stuck.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. The head, they're one thing that they have kind of relied on for probably a few hundred years at this point. They both fear its decision now.
Yeah, they both think that it's going to make the wrong decision for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
Which then leads them to, okay, I'm going to scrap, I think we should scrap the beginning of it. They make this paladin to kill the party. I think they make this paladin as a unanimous decision to aid in their undecisiveness as to how to use this corruption. Not as like a separate entity to decide for them, but as like an attempt to, I'm trying to think of the words that I need to use here. But I like the idea of them like creating this entity, this paladin, this like corrupt fallen angel paladin, not as like a direct way to stop the party, but as like a way to use the corruption in a more like, one wants to use the corruption now, so it's like given this like partial, it's given way, I guess, to creating something that is using the corruption. The other one wants to wait, but is given way to like, okay, well, we can just harness a little bit of this corruption by creating this fallen angel. So it's like an in-between meeting place before they can actually decide. Does that make sense?
Kind of, yeah.
So like they're both indecisive. One wants to wait for maximum corruption. One wants to go now. So they come to this like meeting zone where they're both unhappy to create this fallen angel who uses the power of the corruption, but it's also going now. So it's like this middle zone.
Okay, yeah. See it as a common ground,
as a compromise. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. As like a compromise until they can make their final decision.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
Because I don't necessarily, I like the idea of them like foreseeing a little bit about the party, but I don't necessarily like these bad guys being solely about the party.
No, I definitely don't think they're solely about the party. I just think they saw one prophecy that said, hey, this is possible. These guys could stop you. And they're like, I don't want that to take place, so I'm going to do stuff to prevent it. And they just did like one little thing or two little things.
Yeah, I just worry that it becomes like too party centered.
So, okay, I was thinking these things would be like villains at one point. They would be bad guys they have to face. Okay, it sounded like you were going for more of they will always be a side character. They will never be the direct enemies of the party.
I mean, if I was running this, I wouldn't make them like main villains. The main villain is the corruption.
Oh no, I was just meaning like for an arc. Like how we had the paladin be an enemy.
Yeah, they could be an arc, I guess. Yeah.
Maybe the paladin is what kicks off this arc of something is out there that hates us. What is it?
Yeah. I mean, I think I like the idea of them making this as more of like a compromise. This fallen angel is more of a compromise than like a direct result of them seeing the future of the party or like a possible future of the party. And when the party first kills the paladin, they then like he goes and becomes this fallen angel, and they like reanimate him essentially into his body again.
Yes.
To then stop the party.
Okay, yes. So at first it's a compromise, then he dies by the party, and then they want revenge. That makes sense. So it's more
of like a direct action. The party feels like this is more of a direct thing they've accomplished, like caused, more so than it's just like a happenstance that from day one the Hags have created this entity for that purpose to stop them.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Just so it's a little bit more like flesh and not like, oh wow, like we're just super important people all the time, like from day one,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, now, so the first time they run into this paladin, the Hags have corrupted his mind slowly but surely in this corruption, trying to make him give way to the essence of corruption essentially. And then they kill him the first time, and then they do that whole process of him becoming a fallen angel to combat the party.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, for these hags, what are they doing when they are not creating this paladin? Like or thinking about the corruption? Like what is their, not day to day, but like what are their actions? How are they going to have any other effect on the campaign? Are they affecting one small town or a city, or what are they doing?
Okay, well, there's a couple things that immediately came to my mind. One is obviously they're gonna like probably be doing something to a town, right? Leading like people into the corruption and getting them killed or whatever.
Yeah.
I also really like the idea of these two hags in control of like a witch coven that's just like on the outskirts of like a town that the party, kills or whatever. I like that idea too.
You want it to be a full-on witch coven or like a cult or...
I don't like cult. I like the idea of like a witch coven, but I don't know, like I want them to be doing stuff outside of just what this was.
Me too.
Like,
That's
obviously
why
I like the idea of them killing people inside this corruption. Like obvious, right?
I
Like,
mean, yeah, you like people killing people. I understand.
right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Of course.
Of
who
course.
doesn't? Let's be honest.
D&D, No, but
But yeah, they got to be doing something else other than the party. You're right. And
like,
so
yeah, I think they would be killing people like in the corruption. They would be leading people into the corruption. Like, isn't that like a classic hag thing to do? Is like killing people and baking them into pastries or whatever?
yeah, they're not Sweeney Todds, but so what? Okay, so
I mean,
I like this
that
control
one,
of this. Yeah, there is the Hansel and Gretel. Yeah, I understand that.
No, but in the Barovia one, they're making them into dream pastries.
I think there is ones. Yeah, I think there is ones that are doing stuff like that. That's right.
They literally kill people and put them into pastries and make them have bad dreams when they eat them. I think.
Yeah, I know there are hags that are doing weird things in Barovia.
Spoilers.
But that's just because Barovia. Thanks, Aaron. That's a little late. On that one.
It's very late, but spoilers.
Now, okay, so I like the idea of this they kind of have control of this witch coven, but I'm not quite sure what that entails or what the purpose of that is. What are they gaining from this? Why do they have these people? Are they training up a second head because they both don't trust this original head? Like, what are they doing with this witch coven?
That is an excellent question. I mean,
and I just came up with that head idea, which I really like, actually. The idea of as we talked about earlier, they both are kind of losing faith in this head. And so they're training up these people acting like, oh, you can be witches like us. You could, and maybe they're pretending to just be normal witches. They're shape-shifting into just...
Well, that's absolutely what I think they'd be doing, yeah.
And so they don't know that they're hags, and so they're just saying, like, were they training people up magically and whatnot, only to, in the end, betray them and use them as this head, as their next head.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
Okay, so I think what it is it's a coven. It's about 6 witches, and in the end, they're going to, like, force them into, like, a sort of, like, battle royale kind of, like, fight to survive to find out which one is worthy in the end.
Okay, so I think we definitely stick with the idea of they're making this coven of witches that they eventually are going to, at least one of them, they're going to kill and use as the next, like, arbiter, their next head. However, I think instead of like a battle royale where they kill somebody, I think it should be more like which witch.
The pie baking contest?
What?
The pie baking contest?
Yeah, totally. No, yeah. They, which one can bake the best pie?
Well, I mean, it has to be like a human pie, as we were talking about previously.
No, rhubarb. Always rhubarb,
Always just rhubarb.
Rhubarb speaks wisdom.
Rhubarb.
Wisdom comes from the amount of rhubarb you eat. I think that's a fact. So,
especially the leaves, which are poisonous, eat as many
and
of
so
those
not
as
only
possible.
not only is this a pie baking contest, but afterwards it's how much they can eat of that wisdom pie. So it's like a 2-for-1 contest.
This is a terrible thing. I would never put that in my game. Oh
man, no. But I'm thinking that these, like, witch again, can...
But which?
Right, yeah. I'm trying to think how to word this without using witch.
Yeah. I mean, you could use witch. It's fine.
I can use witch, but which witch am I talking about?
Yes, which witch is the one that we're talking about? That's the question.
Right. We won't ever know which witch is actually the witch that's chosen.
No, so how do they determine which witch is which?
Right. Well, they determine which witch is which by, I want to say, like, doing something that the party can counteract, like this cult can counteract. So that's either like kidnapping people, or that's like growing the, which one can make the most members of the coven. I even like the
Which
idea.
one can develop the Mangekyo Sharingan first?
Yeah. Well, I even like the goal of this coven. Another goal of this coven is, what do hags eat? Humans?
That's a great question. What do hags eat? I had that up
Rhubarb pie.
through all of our issues. I kind of dropped the page that had that kind of info all on it.
It's okay. We'll just establish that they eat rhubarb pie.
So we have environment, subspecies, and reproduction. I don't think any of those are food-based.
I think reproduction, they just shoot spores out, right? And propagate.
Yeah, okay, let me read it then. Given their nature as an all-female race, hags had to find other ways to reproduce
please, no.
beyond the conventional methods. There were many tales of the bizarre means through which hags came into the world. Some stories reported that they spawned from animals like cows with venomous milk or snake eggs, kissed by virgins, while other processes were more artificial, like being incubated in the coffins of the unhallowed, or being poured out from cauldrons of boiling blood.
Oh my
One of the most
God.
widely told tales of hag reproduction had to be that of the changeling.
Oh my gosh. Stop right there. They're using this coven to create a third hag.
Yes. That is
to
it.
solve their issue, so they don't have to have a head anymore.
So it's not creating another head, it's creating another hag. That is great.
Yes.
Which I think they hate. They would hate the competition, but they also hate the
have to have it
more. Yes.
Yeah. They need this other hag to complete the trifecta.
Okay, yes, that's really cool.
And they're boiling a cauldron of blood to make a new hag. No.
So, okay, but you remember in our Grey Wardens podcast episode. And one of the things the Grey Warden has to do to kind of become a Grey Warden is they had to drink this darkspawn blood and kind of go through this ritual where many, many, many of the people actually died. It was like more than 50% of them, I think, died through this process. Maybe it's something like that, where the people have to ingest this kind of demon blood mixed with like fae stuff to kind of become a hag.
Yeah.
And so many of them likely die. That's why they have to have this coven, so that they can just keep testing people until they find one that works.
Yeah. And then we can have another party arc deal with, there's a lot of party arcs in this campaign, but there's a lot in campaigns, but like people like young girls are like going missing or whatever and joining this witch coven or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Kind of like the idea that it's not like kidnapping. Like it's just people that are in bad home situations that decide that this is better than what I have.
I'm thinking of a movie. There's a movie that was on Netflix a while ago that was about a girl, about like a hyper religious family in New England, like during settler colony times.
Yeah.
And she ends up joining like a witch coven after. It's a crazy movie. If you haven't seen it, it's excellent. I don't remember what it's called though. It might be called The Witch, but I'm thinking it's called The Witch, but I'm thinking
this sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm thinking this girls are joining this coven.
Yes, I 100% think that's what's happening.
How you'd probably introduce this is it would be like you have like this hyper zealot father or something figure who's like, my daughter's becoming a witch, that type of thing. So the party's like, okay.
Okay, no, I think they come into a town and there's like a Salem witch trial event happening.
Absolutely.
Burn the witch.
Absolutely.
And
she's a witch, burn her.
Yes, like that whole situation, and like
Does she weigh more
maybe
than
they'll
a duck?
yeah, it'll be. I think it will be silly like that in a way. Like like their evidence is all going to be like circumstantial or just really untrustworthy. And I think that they'll also see there's like one woman in the crowd actually crying, and like
No, like
I don't know if
absolutely, yeah.
maybe she's like the mother, or maybe she's like another one of the witches, but she's not saying that she's a witch. She's just saying like, oh, she's my friend or whatever. We grew up together or something.
Yeah,
And
I
so
definitely like
they
this
come
idea.
into this environment, and so I think that it's not a party centered story. It's this city or this area based story, and so they just happen to go through it.
Yep.
And I think that one of the things I was wanted to ask you about. So failures, people that are not successful in their hag corruption or turning. What do you think happens to them? Do they just die? Do they just get released because the hags enjoy spreading evil? So they're like, hey, these things are now like mindless creatures of great strength, and so they'll just go out and cause evil.
Yeah,
And maybe they come across a few of those, or like how do you see that going?
I don't know. I'm stuck between those two suggestions that you had. Was they either just die, or they become some sort of like creature, or like
I think we could do a mixture. We could do most of them die, but some of them are so close to becoming hags that they survive, but they're twisted and wrong.
okay. So what? Okay, here we go. A halfway point. What if like they like almost like they become like sick, like they lose, maybe they become blind or deaf or something, and like maybe one of the religious zealots of the town has like their daughter who's like blind and deaf, and like, see what those witches did to my daughter type thing. Like they caused her to be deaf and blind, like, you know, I don't know, I'm using that accent, but
There is a episode of Doctor Who where there's this woman preaching about this kind of great city she's made where everyone will be perfect and only the perfect is accepted and whatnot. And so it's kind of like a semi-religious like thing. And her daughter is like fully blind and was like attacked by her husband and kind of disfigured in a way. And so she's not perfect. And she kind of uses her daughter as an example of like, this is the horror of the world type thing.
right, yeah,
And so I think it's like that, where it's like, this is the
Yeah.
horror of the world type using, but in the end, like what they don't like in the show, she doesn't actually care about her daughter. In the end, she was fully planning, because only perfect people are allowed in her city, to like fully kill her daughter or just like leave her
Yeah.
out. And so I think it's a similar situation where this guy is more of a politician than an actual loving father. And so he is not actually caring about his daughter's end result. And so maybe he's shaming her in a way of his kind of proclamations.
this is what I see. Yeah, this is what I see. I think I want it to be more like a mindless thing, where they're just like mind-numbingly, you know, like dead, essentially. So the coven just like
They kind of
releases
become
them
brain
to
dead.
walk the planes, the corruption, you know, to eventually find their way towards corruption or whatever. And this religious zealot father or whatever finds his daughter. Like he went out to go search for her, and he finds that she is now mindless. And I think what I would probably do, and this is going to sound like, I mean, was a very common thing, especially like in colonial times, was like, my daughter's a Jezebel type thing. And so like he uses that more as like, because my daughter was a Jezebel, look what she's become type thing, you know? It doesn't have to necessarily be that she was a Jezebel, but, you know, but like something along those lines.
Yeah.
Where
So
then she's there, but she doesn't talk. She's just stares straight ahead, like completely absent of mind.
There's another
Because
show.
this potion has like stripped all of her personality. Instead of turning her into an evil hag, it's just like removed everything.
Yeah. So there's another show. It's called Sense8. And it's great a great show. I'd highly suggest it. One of the later parts in the show, they kind of find this like what you're saying, this brain dead person. And spoilers for anybody who's going to watch it, you might want to skip a few seconds. But it turns out that he is actually, like in our sense, like a Hag's eye, where he actually has become like the main like fighting force of the enemies. Because he's become this mindless thing, they can just enter his brain and control him and have him go kill people, and they don't get blamed for it. And so maybe these kind of brainless daughters or people in the city are like waiting, like they can be like called upon or controlled. And so maybe at some point it becomes, oh no, all these people that we have recovered and we thought like that maybe they're in a hospital or something, they kind of attack or something.
Yeah, okay. I like the idea of it being only one better because it's not concrete evidence. So it's just like, who knows what could have happened to her. So the party doesn't get like a direct, this is what happened, they were turned because of witches. So it's just like, well, who knows what could have happened to your daughter? Like she could have, like there's all new number of examples. And then I like the idea of the father, while he's like a religious zealot, I don't want him to be bad. And I want him to like actually love his daughter, but like because he's such a religious zealot, it's like she's gone to him because she's a witch, like that type of thing. And so he might even have like some sort of like breaking down moment for the party, when they've actually like uncovered that this is the real thing that's happened, So I don't want to make so many enemies that like everything seems like an undertone of bad, like a bad guy, So I think I like this figure to be like such a zealot, or so like he just doesn't quite understand that this is what's actually happened. Like, yes, he's partially right. Like there was a witch, like hags have like taken control of his daughter, but like I just want it to be like a redemption part within the story, so not everybody seems like they're corrupted or evil.
Yeah.
So I think I want him to be like this caring father who was once caring for his daughter, and this pain has driven him to be like a hyper religious zealot who's like, and they shall burn, like that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And he's rallied up his town to like do the Salem witch trials, and that's when the party kind of walks in and they see like they see. I even like the idea of like he's gonna kill his own daughter type thing because she's now a witch, even though she's like she tried to drink that hag potion and has like lost all of her mind, and like the party even like rescues her or something. Like they have like this mindless idea, or like they eventually convince the dad that she's still worth loving and stuff. Like I love that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like he's still redeemable.
I don't really like the idea that he's fully like, my daughter's not savable. I think he might partially believe that, but he doesn't say that outright. I think that's more of a personal struggle. Like, can she even be saved? What am I even doing? But so I think what his fight is, and so the first trial that they literally come into the town and see is like when she was like okay, it was her best friend, and he's like, you brought her to the things, you see what you've done to my daughter, and like he blames all these people in her life that maybe some were actually brought her to the witches, others were not, but he's just kind of going on this zealous rampage, just trying to find someone to blame, because I think he partially blames himself that he didn't see
there should be
her
two separate people in this, two separate like head players in the village: the religious zealot and the guy with the daughter who's mindless. The religious zealot wants to kill this mindless daughter because she's now become a witch, and the father wants to like, you can't kill my daughter type thing, and that's when the party hears them in this witch trial, essentially.
And so, okay, I think what's happening when they come into the city, it's a witch trial. It's for the daughter who is kind of mindless, her best friend, as I said previously. she is being blamed for bringing this girl to the witches and
Right.
corrupting her.
Yep.
The father doesn't know that the religious zealot is also planning to burn his daughter at the stake. And so he's like, look what you've done to this man's daughter type thing. And then by the end of it, he's like, and now she shall burn as well. And the father's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah.
And so that's where they have a chance to step in and intervene and stop it then.
Right. One of the the daughter
Best
who
friend.
isn't mindless is being blamed for bringing the mindless daughter to this witch coven and turning her into a witch.
Yes.
And that's the subject of the witch hunt. And so the party comes in to this town where they're getting ready. I don't think they would be doing it just yet. Like they wouldn't be like having the trial just yet, but like getting ready for this
No,
witch
but
hunt.
I think they see like the setting up of the pyre
Yes.
and the little setting up the wood.
And yeah, so the party gets to like witness this trial and like intervene and like try and do something, you know? And I like the idea of they're blaming a girl for bringing her best friend to the witches and turning her mindless. And so they're blaming her as being a witch and they're going to murder her.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
cool.
I think that's the play. And then the religious zealot, because the religious zealot's daughter is the one who's mindless and the other guy's daughter is the one who's not.
I was thinking it was the other way around.
No, because I think the religious zealot
I think the religious
is
zealot is killing. I think the religious zealot is killing his daughter, blaming her for corrupting her best friend, because as we said, the other father actually loves his daughter and doesn't want her to die, and so when the religious zealot says that he's also killing the mindless daughter, the dude's like, "What? This wasn't. You didn't say this was what you're doing."
Yeah, I want it to be the opposite way. Because I want both of them to not be bad. So I want the religious zealot's daughter to be mindless. And he's blaming the other guy's daughter for her becoming mindless, becoming a witch.
Okay, so no one would care if the daughter burns then, the mindless one. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Because the dad would care about his alive daughter that is being blamed.
So the religious zealot doesn't. So the father who doesn't have the mindless daughter, he cares that his daughter is.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Right. He obviously cares because he doesn't want his daughter to get burned at the stake.
Yes.
And he doesn't believe she's a witch. Mm-hmm. The religious zealot believes his daughter is a witch and is convincing the town that she's a witch. Mm-hmm. And so by you saying that my daughter, who was best friends with your daughter, is now has now fallen under the consequences of, you know, what the gods do to those who become witches. You know, they make them mindless or whatever because they, you know, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
That way, I don't see anybody as being like, I mean, yeah, one person's super wrong and could be like partially evil, but they're both just like, he's just mistaken. Hello. My goodness.
Well, I think your bird's telling us it's time to wrap up. And
I think so too.
as the bird gets really antsy at the end, I think this is a interesting story and place to go with this. And I hope you all enjoyed listening to this. And I hope my editing is able to make this episode sound good, even though we didn't have a good audio on our end.
Yeah, and it's really late at night now.
Yeah, 10 o'clock. Woo.
Heck yeah.
So, thank you all for listening. See you next time.
Bye?